Hi, my name is Carl Peterson. This is Living Wage Wednesday, where we bring you different living wage opportunities within Pierce County and other outlying counties. I am here with Anthony Johnson from the Laborers 252. Anthony is an outreach specialist. He works to promote the laborers to different parts of Washington state. Anthony, how's it going today?
It's going good. It's going good. A little rainy outside, but it's going great other than that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Anthony has been a integral part of kind of what we do at WorkSource, getting people into living wage careers and getting helping people who are looking to have family wage careers meet those dreams. And so I'm going to be here talking with Anthony today about how one can prepare to get into the laborers, how one can get into the laborers, and then how one can succeed and continue on that career path with the laborers. And it's really exciting right now because the laborers have so many projects right now in Pierce County that they're working on, that they are looking for new people, new candidates, new individuals to really get these projects that are integral to Pierce County's infrastructure, to get those built. So without further ado, Anthony, it's a pleasure having you here. Tell me a little bit about, I want to hear more about the personal side. How did you get into the laborers? What did you do before the laborers? Kind of how did that start?
Yeah, I started off I used to work for a company that dealt with transporting people. So they worked a lot with Pierce Transit, and we'd transport people to hospitals, elderly people to an appointment. And then one day I had a friend, he was building retaining walls, and he asked me if I'd like to do that job. And at the time I was 25. And so having a driving job just seemed that's something I would do when I got older. If, right now I should be moving around. So I got into doing that. Took a pay cut actually to do retaining walls. And from there, contractor liked the jobs we were doing on the retaining walls and offered us a job doing apartments. And this was also non-union. So started at the bottom there, got up to a foreman position. And at the time I was as a foreman, making $16 an hour. And non-union construction, you'll eventually tap out. You'll hit a certain ceiling, and they're just not going to pay you no more. And you kind of understand that. It's kind of like an unwritten rule. And so decided to call up the labor's union. I actually heard at the time they had a radio advertisement. So I heard a radio advertisement, called them up, and they said, "Hey, we have a job for you, doing pipe work." It was actually on the Cabela's out there in Olympia when that was being built. It wasn't built yet. And they said, "You can start tomorrow." And I said, "Wow, that's too soon. I need to give, my employer a little bit of time." So I actually drove the company truck to the union job site, signed the papers, worked for the union for 2 days. As soon as a couple people talked to me about it, about, having, the representation, the voice, the pay, I was starting off at the bottom. I was going to make $10 more than being a foreman and having responsibilities at the company before. And that just seemed unrealistic. It seemed, how they say if something's too good to be true, it probably is. That's how it felt. So here they were offering me $10 or so or more plus benefits. And plus I was going to have, somewhat of a voice, and it just seemed unreal. So I was like, well, I'll just ride this union thing until, it collapses. Right. How can you pay people $10 more and be competitive? And so what I eventually started realizing was it wasn't that they were overpaying us in the union. I was being underpaid at the previous jobs. And that's, a lot of these jobs, they'll just take advantage of a person, and they understand you need the job and where you're going to go. And so that was one of the reasons for me choosing the union, is I realized that even if this job at Cabela's would wrap up, they would find another job. And if I wasn't back to work the next day, it was only a matter of time before I would have another job. And, so if you're a person, a lot of construction isn't very diverse. Some parts of construction, you might, there's cliques, people either know each other or they're friends and family. So it could be very difficult sometimes to get onto jobs if you don't know the right people, if you're not friends with them. So having a union where that's not a problem, it's not about, who it's about, being able to do the work. And so I knew if I could just get on a job, then I was going to be able to stick around at that company. So it was a very good opportunity.
That's really, really cool. And something else about the union people don't think about is that the union will, if you're out of work, they will support you to apply for unemployment and assist you and be understanding during that process, where other companies are kind of like, well, let's not talk about that. That's something that we don't want to be a part of. The union it's a whole holistic process. It's not just thinking about, hey, let's just have you get into work and then, oh, if you're going to lose your job, you're still loyal to us, right? No, they're loyal to you, and it's continuing, always supporting you through the whole process. So it's something we've noticed, and it's always really nice because people come into our center and they just know there's a calmness to them. They know, yeah, we're going to be going back to work, with the laborers. So we're not scared or anything. We have to do this process to get some money during the interim, but we know that money we're going to get after, it's going to be really good again, so.
Yeah, and that's also one of the benefits too of the pay that we get, right? And because a lot of construction, I mean, we do other things in construction, but so a lot of companies, there are a few, that will pay a person under the table, so they could offer you $1 or $2 more.
Yeah.
And so while that sounds good, if that was happening prior to this pandemic, then now you haven't been able to accrue any money for unemployment. So that's where you'll get hurt. And so that's also one of the good things about the union is that you make a good salary. And then even if work does slow down for whatever reason, whether that job's over or the weather or even a holiday, or you just want to enjoy a little bit of time off, you have that, and you can look forward to having a decent unemployment pay. And another positive to that is you don't have to look for the 3 jobs a week, I think is what it is. We're a referral agency, so you don't have to worry about that as far as looking for those jobs. And the other downside of looking for those jobs is that you go to a company just to fill out an application, right? And if they offer you a job, you have to take it, right? A lot of times you have to take it. And so, I mean, and there are companies that know that, and so they'll offer you a job knowing that you can't turn down that job without dealing with the repercussions. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. And so this kind of gives you, it sounds like, oh, I'm just with the laborers, I don't have that much freedom, but actually no, the laborers gives you that freedom because you have your pay and you have everything already really figured out for you and stuff. So
yeah, because being in the labor union, you're being represented, but you work for that company. So say Anthony Construction, you're an employee of Anthony Construction. You just have someone that represents you. So if Anthony Construction decides not to pay you a day late, where a lot of times you say, okay, that's no big deal, that we understand that is a big deal. And there should be, you should have someone that you can go and talk to about that, right? Because it is your paycheck. You made an agreement. You said you'd come in, Monday through Friday, and they said, okay, by doing that, I'll pay you on Friday. So by not receiving it on Friday, you should have somebody that you could talk to without fearing for your job. And so that's what the union does, is we just have a contract, and then the contractors in the union say that they're going to agree and abide by that contract. So you technically still work for your employer. You just have representation now.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. And so let's kind of focus on what a normal day with the laborers looks like. So let's say when do you start? Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Normally 7 o'clock. If it's the wintertime, a good time people start at 7. You'll work an 8-hour day for the most part. There's a possibility, depending on what type of work you do, the day could go long. An example of that would be if you're working on I-5, there might be certain goals that you're trying to reach before that day is over. So if you have a road jackhammered and it's open, you can't just leave that at 8 hours and just say, well, the road's closed for today. You have to make sure. So that could be a longer day, but typically it's an 8-hour day. You'll start at 7, and then the day ends at 3:30, and then you have lunch around 12. How it differs in most jobs, a lot of the times you might have different locations. So maybe one day you're working in downtown Tacoma, the next day you're working in off of 112th Street. A lot of times it'll still start at the same time. You'll just be at a different location.
Interesting. So there's always a lot of variety. It just kind of can change depending. So flexibility is key, really. So.
Correct. And it does depend, right? Because you could be on an I-5 project, that might last 6 months. So you might have to report to the same, you're working in the same area there. And like we were talking about, say you're working for a company like Concrete Tech, they're located in the same spot. So
Hmm.
that's a positive. You're going there. But then you might work for a company that's doing asphalt, right?
Hmm.
Asphalt on the road, you're moving around a lot. So the good thing is that there's a lot of people that do construction don't like being confined into inside of a building, and they enjoy the different scenery, right? Some people like that. You can sit and eat your lunch by a river one day, and next day you're eating it by traffic or something. So
Hmm. That's interesting. Yeah, no, I remember I was right when we started going back to work in the summer. I went to go get a burger, and I met some individuals from a construction crew, and it was really cool to hear them talk. Like every day, we try a different little lunch place
yeah,
because we're at different places, and so because they're also in construction, they might have the money to be able to try different lunch places every single day. So you were seeing them like order like, "Hey, I can take that extra cheese. That's fine." Uh,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
and that was really cool to see. But to see the camaraderie and things like that, it was a really interesting experience and talking to them a little bit. But interesting. And just tell me, why does the laborers pay as well as it does? I know it's a union job, but there's some other
Mm.
reasons. Talk about that a little bit.
You have the power of when you have a group of people that come together, right? Like I was saying, when I worked for that non-union contractor, while I was unhappy with my pay, I didn't have other people with me that was willing to stand up because out of fear for either their job or for whatever the reason was. So it was easier for them to just get rid of the person, the squeaky wheel in those situations. So you're part of a group. LIUNA stands for the Laborers International Union of North America. So we cover United States and Canada, and there's over 500,000 members total. And that's from construction to the postal service to nursing to construction. And so you have a lot of different people coming together, having a voice. So whether it's talking with your local representatives, they'll listen a little bit more because that's a group of people that are coming together with one voice. And the other that's one thing. The other one is we do offer training. We have a lot of schooling, and so this becomes more than just a job. It becomes a career. And so during those times we were talking about whether you're on unemployment, you can use that time to learn another skill to help you. So either when work is slow, you can do a different craft, or you could just choose to do something different because you like to change the scenery in the wintertime or in the summertime, or you're just a little bored and want to try something different. So that's another thing. And the representation is big. We have people like myself and others around us that they go out and they talk to different contractors and explain to them that when you do have a person that has the training, you're going to get the job done more cost effective and it's safer. So therefore, you're not worrying about all the safety violations and things like that and fines. So that's another positive about working with the union, and that's what also allows us to have a decent pay.
That's fascinating. And can you kind of tell me a little bit more about what kind of skills help you put you in the front of the line, you could say, or in a better part of the line to get onto really good and interesting contracting sites? Like, does a CDL help you? Does a asbestos background help you? Kind of tell me more about which trainings somebody should be thinking about before they apply to join the laborers.
Yeah, so we do a lot. We have over 130 different scopes of work that we do. So we do everything from demolition, from tearing down a bridge to building a bridge, from jackhammering up asphalt and roads to repaving a road. The same thing with the water systems, concrete, tunnel work. And so having any type of certification helps get your foot in that area. If you don't happen to have a specific background in construction. And what's great about WorkSource is everybody that I've ever talked with when I go, whether it's going to Bates, Clover Park, Goodwill, you guys are involved with them, and those programs offer. They ask for our feedback a lot of times. What certifications are contractors looking for? And so certifications are always good because that's a good way to get your foot in the door. And whether that certification helps you to get into the apprenticeship program, where now you can learn how to do concrete work if that's the angle you're looking for, or asphalt, or doing civil work. Those are good ways to get your foot in the door if you're not quite sure what you want to do. And so that's where those certifications come in, because now you don't have to go to school to learn something to get into construction. So having like abatement, like we were saying, which is asbestos, even something as small as a forklift card, enhanced driver's license to get onto some of the military structures is also a good one to have, along with scaffolding. That's erecting the scaffold on the outside of a building. So whether you're like cleaning windows or doing some of the masonry work on the outside of it. So there's a lot of different scopes, and it's good to think outside of the box. There are ways that some of those certifications where you're using them, and it's just a good way to get your foot in the door. One that I mention a lot is flagging. We do traffic control, and that's where you see some of the people with paddles, or they're with the cones, and they're stopping or slowing down the traffic. What's good about that is that just by doing the flagging, you're able to visualize and look around you and see some of the other different things that people are doing in construction, and maybe it'll take some of the intimidation out of it. You'll see someone else doing something and say, hey, I could do that. That doesn't seem too complicated. That's something I think I could do. And a lot of what working is just getting comfortable and having like just believing in yourself, having a little bit of trust in yourself that you can do it, taking the fear away.
And really, it's also, I think it's about discovering the professions while you're at it, because what I've noticed is that there's a lot of obvious yet unobvious professions within different jobs, and people don't think of themselves in those jobs until they see them firsthand. Go, oh, I could do that. Oh, that could be a possibility. And that's something I've noticed. People don't think of themselves, hey, I could be a teacher, but we all know we have a teacher that's really impacted us, and we just don't ever think about that. But it's the same with construction. It's like, oh yeah, that's obvious. Somebody works on that road, and that road gets redone and repaved every, say, 5 years. And who are those people? How do we get into that? If you're in a job where you're closer to those people who are paving and repaving the road, you can realize, oh, this could not say an easy job, but this would be a job that would fit my strengths. And I can make a good wage doing it. And I can also help to build the critical infrastructure for this area.
Yeah, and exactly. And some jobs are destroying, right, or tearing down, and then some are building. And a lot of times you don't have the same people doing the same tasks. You'll have a crew that comes in and demos the building, and then a different crew erects it. So while you might see something being built and say, hey, well, I can't do that, but then you see the other side and you're like, oh, I could do that. So yeah, you're right. Sometimes just seeing things, it expands your mind.
Exactly. And I have a few other questions. How does one get into the laborers? We did talk about kind of, leveling up, you could say, with different skill sets and stuff, like a CDL or enhanced driver's license or scaffolding and what have you. Yeah. But can you kind of go through the process a little bit of getting into the laborers?
Yeah, the way that most people know about getting into the labor union is by having a background in construction. That's the most straightforward way of getting into it is you work for a contractor, whether they're non-union or you've just done something for a mom and pop outfit, and you decide that, hey, I'm ready to make the next step, whether that's because of pay or you just want to be on bigger projects. So if you have a background in construction, that's one of the easiest ways to get into there. You just come talk to someone like myself and just kind of go over your background. Hey, I have 2 years of doing asphalt, at my cousin's company. And so that's one of the easiest ways of getting in, or one of the most known ways of getting in, actually. Not the easiest ways, because that's pretty difficult. It takes 5 years. Just work for 5 years doing construction on your own and then come to us. The other way would be going through the apprenticeship program. The apprenticeship program is another way because of COVID and what's going on. The wait times are a lot longer than they previously were. That one's a good way to go in. And even people that have experience in construction, I'll always say if you can take that route, because it'll allow you to get some additional training. So you'll kind of become well-rounded and you'll learn the little things that a lot of times you don't learn when you just are hands on and you learn and you just have been doing it your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of little things that you just take for granted why you do things, not understanding it. So going through the apprenticeship program isn't a bad way. The great thing about the apprenticeship program is that if you get accepted into the apprenticeship program and you have no experience, the pay starts at 60% of what a general labor scale is. But if you have some experience, you might not have to start off there going through the apprenticeship program. So that shouldn't discourage you because you think, maybe you want to make a little bit more pay. So you shouldn't let that discourage you. You should at least think about going through the apprenticeship program because it does offer additional training, which is very helpful in making for a more solid career. What you might do at 20 is not something your body can do or you want to do when you're 30. And what you do at 30 is your body might not be able to do that at 40 or 50. So it's good to be well-rounded and to have a background in multiple categories in construction scopes of work. That's always one of the biggest problems going through construction is some people, if you don't have a retirement or if you've been doing construction for a while, it makes it more difficult for you to make that transition. It could be scary, but don't let that stop you. There's nothing better than having some benefits for when you retire, and so because this work does beat up our bodies doing construction.
Yeah, and I think going back a little bit with the apprenticeship program, something that people don't know is it's in Kingston, which is, I think, for having locations for training programs. I mean, you can't do any better than Kingston. Sorry,
Yeah.
But yeah, Kingston is absolutely gorgeous. It is picturesque. You guys have probably one of the nicest campuses you could have.
Yeah, it is real nice, and there's dorms for people to stay at, so they don't have to travel back and forth. So if you because of our location, we always think of just Western Washington, and so maybe Kingston might not seem that far, but we do have people that are traveling from Spokane, Eastern Washington. So if you had to pay for a room while you went to Kingston, that could be difficult. But the fact that the room and board is taken care of along with all your meals while you're there is very helpful in allowing a person to just focus on learning and not having to worry about how are they going to pay for their room while they're there or how are they going to pay for their meals.
Mm-hmm. That's really
so.
Really
Yeah,
amazing.
It is very helpful.
When I found that out, I was shocked because I just assumed it was kind of a piecemeal. Hey, you come to the worksite and you learn an apprenticeship. No, it's a whole center training program. It's amazing.
Yeah, there. One more part about that. We take people on tours there all the times, and in just a regular day, you almost can't see the whole facility in one day unless you're just constantly moving. And so it kind of shows you how big it is. A lot of times that's what people think. They think of a construction school of being one or two rooms and not a lot of hands-on, but there is a lot of hands-on. I mean, we're tearing up the old sidewalks and then repouring the sidewalks. So we'll have one crew demo out the sidewalk and then another crew will come in and then repour that sidewalk. So so there's a lot of hands-on training there.
That's really cool. And just for people listening to this, Kingston is just a great day trip anywho, for good views and taking the ferry. It's really cool.